on this trip over these 11 days, I think I spent maybe a total of 30, maybe 45 minutes like at a computer. There was 3 different days where I had to get a few things done, and I spent maybe 15 minutes, 3 different days on this trip getting stuff done. You know, and that was kind of this realization of stuff keeps on working. I'm out here having fun. I've looked at a computer a total of 45 minutes in 11 days. And getting back, I was kind of like, man, how do I keep this feeling going? How do I kind of focus on having more fun, creating more experiences, doing more cool stuff, while simultaneously making sure that the business keeps on pushing forward?
Boom, 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 boom.
What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast with your boys, Matt Wolfe and Joe Fier. Check it.
Hey, welcome back to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast.
Wow, that was very professional of you.
Yeah, it's all I know. I only know professional.
That's you.
I don't have a non-professional side.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah, we are back, and this one is another. It's been a while since I felt like we've done a therapy session, but
last month,
probably the same cadence that we've always done. Just like doing these things.
Joe hasn't figured out a release schedule yet. We do a therapy session as the last episode of every month. But that usually means that we're recording it in the middle of every month. So
correct. And that is
the last
where
one we did was almost a month ago today was when we recorded it.
And we have a lot of therapy-esque sessions at the end of our episodes now. So it's like they happen all the time, which is cool. You know? So yeah. Don't look at the text message, Matt. I know where it is.
There's a big baseball game tonight that we're excited about, and we're talking crap with our one of our good friends who's a fan of the other team. But we'll leave it there for now.
Yeah. I saw Matt was distracted because we both got notified. Yeah. Because the crap talking is happening right now.
It's a group text thread. So yeah,
silencing everything.
Yeah, me too. So today we are doing another therapy session. We don't have a guest on this one. Joe and I are going to give you some kind of updates behind the scenes of our own business, and we're going to have a little bit of fun. We've got like a few little things we want to experiment with and talk about that I think are going to be like kind of goofy and silly. And we'll see how it plays out. It could be a total cluster F.
Could be a train wreck. Yeah, but stick around with us and you'll see.
Yeah.
Guarantee it's worth it, though.
But before we dive in, we're going to be taking notes on this one, as we always do. So go to flowchartgroup.com. When you go to flowchartgroup.com, that's where you can join our Facebook group. One of the questions when you join the group is to give us your email. If you give us your email, we will send you the action guide to this episode. The email isn't required to get in the group, but it is required if you want us to email you the action guide for this episode. So go to flowchartgroup.com, get the notes, do it within 2 weeks of this episode going live, and we will hook you up. And now that that's out of the way, let's talk about what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and if it's your first time around and you're like, what is this therapy session thing? Well, you know what? We all need therapy, right? We need a little outlet. So this is
we need lots of it.
We need a ton, and you'll find out. No, but yeah, this is our time to basically riff about the cool stuff that we're doing in our business, or learning, or thinking about the really crappy stuff, the things that might have failed, and things we're reworking, which we are reworking stuff. So it's like a little peek into our world and what's happening outside of the normal show schedule that you might see with guests. So it's a good time.
So, Joe, pick a number between 1 and 4.
8. Oh, Jesus.
You're really bad at this game.
3. Yes, I am.
3.
1 and 4. That's random, though. Why?
Okay, well, because 3. I have 4 pod decks, right? They're not a sponsor, but we're playing with these things. So they're basically little cards that have like little question prompts. And we bought them like months ago, and I think we used them on like one episode ever. And I'm like, I'm going to bust these things out, and we're going to answer some random ass questions to get this episode started to break the ice, because you and I don't know each other well enough. We need to break the ice.
Yeah, we really need to break the ice here. Okay, go for it.
You literally picked the one deck. Yeah, this was deck 3 here, and it's the one deck that I've literally never opened, so it's hard for me to open. All right.
What's the deck? Because I know they're all different categories, right?
This one's called Interview Deck 2nd Edition.
Oh, all right.
So this one might not be crazy questions. If the question's lame, I'll ask one of the questions from the What
crazy
the Heck
deck.
There's a deck called What the Heck, the What the Heck deck.
Perfect.
All right. Let's see. Let me shuffle them.
Oh, really? That's necessary?
Any of them. What's the funniest place you've ever fallen asleep?
Oh, that's a. I would say it's funny because I probably could have died really easily, but I hiked. It's true. In Yosemite National Park, I hiked to the top of Half Dome, And if anyone has ever done that, there is a sheer cliff if you sleep. Or I did end up sleeping, but on the top of that big granite rock, it's thousands of feet in the air. And it was my buddy and I. We took a nap on top of that rock, which is also and we're maybe 8 feet from the edge. Luckily, we were against there's a little safety area, but could have basically rolled over in our sleep or slept walk off the edge. But also, now that I think about it, it was in the afternoon, and that's when lightning comes through, so it could have zapped us as well. Could have died in many ways, but that's one that comes to mind.
You didn't, and we're here making this therapy session. So
how about you, Matt? Same to you.
It's actually a really bad question to ask me because I don't really sleep. It's not like I sleep in random places. It's like I barely fall asleep in my own bed. So when I'm like in random places, I typically don't sleep very well. Like when we camp and stuff, like I get very minimal sleep. So just kind of thinking out loud, it would probably be like falling asleep in school or something at some point.
How about this? I mean, we both experienced this. This is another Yosemite story. Remember the whole bear incident?
Yes, I do. I was there.
Yeah, I know. This is separate from my other Yosemite sleeping incident, but
wait, you slept through that, right? Or did you? No, you woke up. You and I both woke up.
I was the one that yelled at the bear.
Yeah,
I was the one that probably attracted the bear too.
Yeah.
I mean, I had stuff in my tent that I was definitely not supposed to have, like bars under my pillow, like Cliff bars and chapstick.
But they actually came to eat the cornhole bags.
They did. So, quick story, that Matt was there, and actually the guy that we're shit-talking with right now
he was also there.
Yeah. His family. It was a whole family trip. But we were in Yosemite. We brought a whole bunch of stuff, but we had a whole tent, all these tents set up, and we brought cornhole. And if you don't know what cornhole the game is, go look it up. But it's the bags are literally filled with, at least the legit bags have pieces of corn, dried corn in there. Instead of like marbles or whatever the hell, sand, Didn't think of that. So you're supposed to put everything in bear boxes, of course, when you go to sleep, and probably any time really when you're at Yosemite or a place with bears around. And we forgot to, we didn't even think to put those in the bear box.
It didn't even register to us that those bags essentially had food in them. They had corn in them.
Not a clue. Yeah. I remember sitting around the campfire that night, and remember we heard a gunshot go off like way far in the distance, and it like rattled through the valley there. We're like, oh, that's interesting. It was like 10 o'clock at night. Well, I went to sleep, and I think it was around like 1-ish or something when this happened. And I remember hearing like foot patters outside of the tent, and it was like quiet as all hell. I was asleep. And my wife is over here. And I remember just like from the dead of sleep, because I still remember this, which is weird. I just don't know how the hell this happened. But I woke up from a dead of sleep and I was like, hey! Like the
we literally
loudest
thought
scream.
somebody was walking through. We didn't think it was an animal.
Yeah.
We thought a person was in our campsite.
Yeah, it sounded like we were getting jacked. And basically, like, I just heard footsteps and it sounded right outside of my tent. And I just yelled. And then all of a sudden, I woke up Heather, my wife, immediately, and others. And I just fell right back to sleep. Which I'm like, I don't know how I did that, but I just like, and then all of a sudden it was like, I don't know. It wasn't that long after we heard a gunshot. Remember, it was like another shotgun. They wasn't shooting the bear, but it was like a blank to scare him out. But yeah, got reawoken by a freaking gunshot, maybe like, I don't know, 20 feet away. I was like, what the?
Yeah,
and it was a bear. So it basically ravaged our campsite and was walking all around our tents.
Yep. And I woke up, you woke up, and I know. So my wife was there. My daughter was there. And she was like maybe 2 at the time or something. My wife didn't wake up. My daughter didn't wake up. Our buddy Josh, who we've been texting with, didn't wake up. So somehow, like, me and Joe were the only 2 people that literally heard somebody fire a shotgun next to our tents.
And
it wasn't a house. We were in a tent.
Yeah. Yeah, it was literally outside of the tent. Yeah, and I remember the last thing was like that bear, because I don't know where it went. But I heard these like little like the nails of it like climbing a tree directly in front of my tent. And I was like, holy shit, I got a bear literally chilling above my tent right now. And I'm like, and then I'm like, what the hell do I do?
Yeah.
Still don't know how it came down. I'm sure it did.
Yeah,
but,
we just kind of woke up, like we all sort of fell back to sleep, woke up the next morning, and the bear was gone, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a ranger, obviously, that was the gunshot. So they track these things, and hopefully the bear's doing all right. But
yeah, all the bears I think are like microchipped or something, and they have a computer so they could see when bears are getting close to the camp. So they knew one was near the campsite, came over, used their shotgun. I think they put like bean bags in it so it doesn't harm the bears, but it scares them away. And yeah, that was a crazy night. And then literally last year, Alana and I went and camped in the exact same campsite, like the exact same spot. Yeah.
You don't venture out much, do you? Why'd you pick that one? Or I'm surprised
it was the one that was available. Like when it comes to Yosemite, the way Yosemite works is you got to book it like 6 months before you want to camp, right? And Alana went to go book it, and the one spot that was available was literally the exact same spot we got last time.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yep. No bears.
I just remember. Yeah, no bears. Yeah, it's no fun. No, it was a thrill, man, because I remember like we even walked around at night because like I think Heather had to go to the bathroom. And I was like, you realize there's a freaking bear right above her. I'm like, you want to go right now? She's like, I gotta go. I'm like, crap. But yeah, cornhole bags are typically filled with corn. Don't take them to places where bears hang out without locking them up.
All right. One more question.
There you go.
This one's from the What the Heck deck. Since I mentioned the What the Heck deck, might as well ask this one. Kind of along the same vein. What is the scariest sound you could hear in the middle of the night?
Wow. Yeah, that kind of answered it for me. That was a big one.
A bear?
I mean, yeah.
I think somebody whispering in my ear that is not somebody in my family would be freaking creepier than a bear. Like if I was just lying asleep at night and somebody just walked up and was like, wake up. And I turned around and I turned over and like my wife was still asleep next to me.
Oh,
I'd be like, fuck this. And I'd probably just start swinging.
I was going to say, my natural reaction would be like, swing. Like, what the? Which is kind of what I did with the bear, I guess. I just yelled really loud. Yeah.
I do keep a baseball bat next to my nightstand, so I probably would have like slowly like reached my arm down to it and started clutching that.
Jesus, I love it. I like the baseball idea. Baseball bat idea. Smart. Never know.
There's a Nick Bargatze stand-up that is like hilarious. He talks about how like when he was a kid, his parents watched Unsolved Mysteries, and one night he caught an episode where this guy would come into people's houses at night while they were asleep and sit on the edge of their bed and rub their feet.
Ooh.
And he said that, like, ever since he saw that Unsolved Mysteries, he's never, for the rest of his life, been able to sleep with his feet outside the blanket.
Okay. They can't tickle me this way. They can't really caress
and I'm like,
my
that's
feet.
Actually kind of terrifying.
Oh, yeah. I mean, any of that is, like, it could be, like, the nicest thing in the world they're doing for you, like a foot massage or whatever, but it's like, who and why and how did you get in here and why?
Yeah,
so many questions and so creepy. Oh,
anyway,
Unsolved
enough
Mysteries,
with the crazy randomness. Yeah, Unsolved Mysteries is like, what's the best show to terrify kids? Like, show them all the crazy murders and scary stuff that they haven't figured out who's doing them yet.
Right before
that's
bed.
A good idea.
Because it was always like at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And my mom, which she's out there watching my baby right now, definitely used to love that show. I'm like, why? As a kid, I'm like, no. That and aliens. Any talk of aliens and all that stuff, I mean, that's pretty creepy too at night. But
yeah. Aliens really, really freak out my wife, so I have fun with that sometimes.
Still?
But, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really? Oh, good. I know her sweet spot or soft spot.
Yeah, just start talking to her about the movie like Signs or something, and she'll be like, nope.
I was going to say the sound at first. For some reason, chupacabras came up in my mind. So it's kind of like Signs, that creepy monster alien guy that was walking around.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've totally gone off a tangent. I don't know how long, but
this is good stuff. We're 13 minutes in, and we've got 2 pod deck questions. And we're going to do something similar, not with a pod decks at the end of the show, where we let some AI write some copy for us, and then we're going to read the stories that it generates, because it generates some pretty funny stuff.
And when you say copy, I don't think you're doing it justice, because it can literally be like I'm looking at one as ridiculous marketing ideas, which is probably what we'll end up doing, because they're pretty crazy.
Oh,
like,
we've seen
some of these could be X-rated or G-rated, but still, they're pretty damn funny.
Yeah, there's some where I generated some and I was like, holy crap, I was just not expecting that. So, stick around, because we're going to do that at the end of this episode.
Yeah, we will. All right. Well, I got that pulled up for when we are ready. but we do have a little agenda here. And I think this agenda, well, I know it does because it always does. It stems from the stuff that's happening in our lives right now in our business and maybe some of our friends and topics that we've talked about in some previous episodes too. So, Matt, I mean, this was a conversation we had yesterday, actually, because we were recording a bunch of podcasts. We were at lunch and, we were talking about, we were kind of going down memory lane a little bit. Well, I guess let's get preface. You came back from a trip to 2 weeks ago or so now, 2.5 weeks ish. And you did a whole road trip from San Diego to Texas and back and all these cool things in between. And you came back with the kind of a fresh perspective, seems like, you had you're away from the computer, away from the normal stuff. You weren't in your little bubble because, you love your bubble. And
I do.
But yeah, talk about that because I think you shifted a little bit there in priorities and then I'll talk about how I've showed up in some ways lately that is counter to my natural, who I really am. And it's interesting because we're kind of doing this, bring it back to why we started in business in the first place and how we're building this thing to be, a lot more fun, I guess, overall.
Yeah.
So,
So, I mean, we did this road trip. We drove from San Diego basically all the way to Houston, Texas. So basically eastern Texas, and then drove all the way back. And, we stopped in a whole bunch of towns along the way. On our way out there, we went to Tucson and then Roswell, New Mexico. And then we went to San Antonio where my cousin lives. And then we went to Houston where the sort of reason we were on the road trip in the first place was we had some family members who got married during, quarantine. And so we went out to sort of celebrate with them. And then we drove through Austin, which, a bunch of our business contacts are out there. So got to hang out with Joe Kearns and Mike Alvarez, who run our emails. Got to spend some time with Kurt Molly, who, if you've listened to, or if you're a member of Podhacker, recently did a presentation inside of Podhacker. And then after Austin, we drove to Carlsbad, New Mexico, and then to Tombstone, Arizona, and then back home. So we were gone for a total of 11 days. And on this trip over these 11 days, I think I spent maybe a total of 30, maybe 45 minutes at a computer. There was 3 different days where I had to get a few things done, and I spent maybe 15 minutes, 3 different days on this trip getting stuff done. And I kind of had this realization that man, this the stuff that I'm doing on the trip is kind of the bare minimum that I need to get done, and I could get it done with 2 days a week, spending 15 minutes twice a week on it, and that was kind of this realization of stuff keeps on working. I'm out here having fun. I've looked at a computer a total of 45 minutes in 11 days, and getting back, I was kind of man, how do I keep this feeling going? How do I feel like I'm always, how do I kind of focus on having more fun, creating more experiences, doing more cool stuff, while simultaneously making sure that the business keeps on pushing forward, right? And so I came back from this trip with that frame of reference of this was awesome. I spent all this time and didn't have to focus on the business, but the business kept going. Let's methodically make this more of the case for both of us, right? And that was kind of the perspective shift that I had. And I think ever since I've been back, I've been, beating you over the head with that philosophy as well of let's just stop doing shit. Let's stop doing so much shit.
And we have, and this was I feel like it's perfect timing for me personally to hear, but also, just us as a business. And because we were doing too much. And since you've been back, we have changed some of the obligations that we've had, some of the partnerships we've changed into more of an affiliate partnership rather than more of a partnership.
Simplification.
Simplifying. Yeah. And that's the big thing is, we were talking on a PodMax, actually, Josh and Eric, they run this really cool event called PodMax, and we were on there guesting this morning, and we were talking about just being a creator and entrepreneur. You want to do so much. You're curious. We're curious, especially being a podcaster, we have all these strategies and things, but we want to do so much where it's very easy to expand. And then all of a sudden you get holy shit. Oh my God. I have all these open loops, or I don't have a great system around this. So that means that it's going to ping pong in our minds all the time. And I know that was it kind of led me to feeling much differently about our business and took, I feel like, the priorities away from what you just said, which was more the lifestyle of like our business and why we're even doing this in the first place.
Yeah, well, I feel like we go through a lot of phases of expansion and contraction and expansion and contraction, and what ends up happening for us is we'll typically simplify the business and go, cool, we're down to like the bare minimum. We're down to the 80-20 that generates most of our revenue with, 20% of our time. Let's just focus on this stuff. Then what ends up happening is a few weeks will go by and we'll realize I have a lot more free time. And there's like this guilt attached. Like, I feel like I should be doing more stuff. I feel like I should be getting more work done. So we start to like this, like guilt almost creeps in around like, I don't feel like I'm putting in the hours I should be putting in right now. And so what we do, we start adding more shit to our plate. We start taking more calls, hearing more opportunities, more people ask us to partner or, do like promote them as affiliates or whatever. And we start taking more on and we start agreeing to do more stuff. Next thing we know, we're crazy overwhelmed going, frick, now I can't find any time to do any extracurricular stuff outside of work. Now I'm overwhelmed. Now I'm putting in too many hours, and then start the process of contraction again. And we start shaving things off and going, okay, we probably shouldn't do this. We probably shouldn't do this. Let's end this deal with these guys over here and not focus on that anymore. And then we contract, and then the cycle repeats itself. We start going, well, we don't have a lot on our plates. We could afford to add this in. We got the time. And it's just like this never ending repeating cycle. And I feel like we've finally got to a point 12 years into this specific business where we're like, all right, let's break the chain now. Let's break the cycle now. I'm done with that cycle. Like, work is not what life's about anymore.
And that's pretty much it right there, because it didn't, and that's where, excuse me, the lunch we had yesterday when we were, we took a break on our lunch or on our podcast day, went to lunch, and we were talking a little bit about this and how, there's, because of some of this stuff and our curiosities, it can lead to our behaviors to change and our motivations to change. And, for me, I noticed I was getting a lot more rigid when it comes to a lot of parts in life, to be honest, relationships, like working in the business. It was like there's a lot of stuff going on, and when we do things, I want to make sure we're serving the best possible, and doing just doing the best work we can, because it's what we want to do. But yeah, I mean, there's a family that we both have families. We both have all these other things and activities we want to do and freedoms. And that doesn't come from doing more, so. But like you said, I think for me, there has been this like layer of guilt, especially with the partnerships and things that, we want to lean into more so, or maybe some of these strategies we want to test. But it's like, but you don't need to do that, and for us wanting to do more, it's easy to just kind of start something without really thinking, what are the consequences here? So at that lunch yesterday, you asked me a great question. It was like, so why do you start in business? What was your motivation in the first place? Mm-hmm. And that was interesting, because I don't think we chatted about that in a long, long, long time.
Yeah, I think it's a really good thing to revisit it every once in a while. Like, I think a lot of people will run their business for a while and then forget the original motivations, and then start to realize like they're working 15-hour days, and pretty much their life becomes sleep, work, maybe eating if there's time. And that's just kind of, that's what their life becomes. And I think at that point, people forget the original motivation for starting, right? Like, they forget that you created your own business because you wanted time freedom, because you wanted financial freedom, because you wanted all these various freedoms, yet you've turned yourself into a slave of the machine that was originally supposed to free you in the first place, know?
That's true. I mean, so maybe, I think we've told the stories, but yeah, like I'll just say like my motivation for starting business, and this really got me to think things a little clearer just yesterday when you were asking this. And it was, I was doing a corporate thing. I was working in a corporate construction company, but like in the marketing department. But I just remember walking down the halls there and looking at the people who have been there for, maybe 20 years or whatever, or at least have been in the industry for that long doing that kind of work. And they just looked kind of dead inside. They just were going through the motions. They never really wanted to interact with other people around them. So if like you ask someone a question, I just remember going to specific, I forget his name was Doug or something, but like he was just this old grumpy guy, and I think it's just the work. He probably was a fine guy, like totally cool to hang out with, probably talk sports with, but in the mode of work mode, it was just like, oh fuck, I can't go in there because I'm gonna get barked at or I'm gonna get a glare, I'm just like, ugh. That's not what I want to do when I'm in. I remember having to walk like really fast, always look busy. It's like, fuck, man, this isn't free. This isn't me, I want to have fun and be free. And my big motivation is I just don't want to turn up like that guy, 20 years from now. I don't want to be a walking zombie that's just going through the motion without purpose and not wanting to interact with people that I'm working with. Yeah. It should be a good time. So that was my motivation, just be free.
Yeah, and then when you look at, so we just did the math. So we've been doing what we do for 12 years now. I quit my job 12 years ago. You quit your job 12 years ago. Not on the exact same day. That'd be a cool story if it was the same day, but
pretty
for
close.
separate days, separate reasons for quitting the job. But we both kind of quit our jobs in the same year. So looking back over the last decade plus last 12 years. Looking back at the last 12 years, how has that worked out for you? Do you feel like you're fulfilling that sort of initial vision that you had for yourself when you left?
Overall, yes. Yeah. I think I've done really well. But, the last, I would say probably, I mean, you might know better than I, I feel like there's circumstances definitely that have gone through. Goodbye, Mom. So there have been things that have happened. Obviously, global pandemic is one of them.
Yeah, that happened. I heard about that. Yeah,
that's kind of big. Yeah,
I heard about that.
We will not name the C word here. But I mean, there's other things. I've had deaths in the family. I've had births in the family. I've all the foster kid go away that I thought we were gonna have. Like, there's all these other things I can name, but I don't know. I feel like the last while I've kind of have lost touch in some of the freedoms and the things that it's been a little bit more of like, oh, I just feel like I gotta get this. Like, this is something. It's weird. I got a little jaded a little bit from the fun freedom thing, and I went more into a rigid mode, which is not my style.
Well, the reason I brought it up too was because you were mentioning the dude Doug or whatever his name was. At your company, how you just saw him every day, and you can tell he was just kind of going through the motions. He just wasn't feeling it anymore. He just knew, okay, this is what I do. I show up every day. I do this handful of tasks. When my day's over, I turn it off and I go home. Right. And so I was asking that because, it almost sounds like you kind of got to a point where you sort of felt like you were just kind of going through the motions. These are my list of tasks I got to do every day. And I'm the same way. I'm not like freaking calling you out or anything because I have the same shit on my plate. We're talking about you first. Okay.
That's fine. It's a therapy session. This is open. It's all good. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I think I unconsciously was falling into that mode a little bit, and I was getting too rigid around you. I'm sure that, I mean, you would be better to tell me, but you did tell me yesterday, you're like, it just doesn't feel like you're having as much fun or as much fun in general. And I mean, the same thing has been said. My wife, Heather, told me that. That's what I told you. I'm like, I literally have heard this from her as well. So it's obviously true. And it's not like I lost the desire to. It's almost like this weird subconscious thing has not taken over, but like it definitely can take over if it's unchecked. And that can, it just doesn't feel good. And it honestly brings a lot of stress, and it can bring anxiety, and it has, and depression even. Like, it's and I know this is something a lot of entrepreneurs, face, and people that are maybe high achievers or just want to serve at a, go, but you can go in other ways, which is kind of where we're realigning things right now.
Yeah. Well, I'll speak for myself, but I know I'm fairly certain that you have similarities here. I think a lot of that kind of stems from like a guilt, right? Like, I know for me specifically, if I feel like we're having too much fun in the business, I almost feel guilty that, the wife is at home taking care of the kids right now while I'm out having fun. Or, if we're out doing something that we perceive as being like really enjoyable and really fun, a lot of times I'd be like, man, there's stuff that I should be doing at my computer, right? I should be writing that email. I should be setting up that Facebook ad. I should be building that landing page. I should be writing that copy, right? Like, there's a billion things that I could be doing in the business. So whenever I'm, let's call it let's say I'm at a beach on a Wednesday at 10 a.m. or something, right?
How
in my
dare you.
mind, I'm kind of thinking, I really should be back at my computer because I have so many things I could be doing, right? And so there's that guilt there coming from two different angles. One is guilt of like not pushing the business forward while I'm here having fun, but then also the guilt of how is my fun impacting others, right? My guilt is impacting my wife because she's at home with the kids right now. My guilt might be, or me out having fun could be, I could feel guilty because maybe Joe's back at his office getting shit done today, right? So there's guilt that stems from going out and having fun because I feel like there's other responsibilities that should sort of take precedent over that having fun right now.
Dude, guilt is, I 100% know, because I've identified this just in the last like month, let's say. Like, I realized that was the thing that was holding me back from a lot of things and was spinning out my mind. And with that unchecked, guilt, I know, can pop up in so many ways. You just named a couple things. I mean, FOMO is another one. You know, like the fact that like, oh, there's a party going on and I'm not there, or I got invited to some. No, I know. Ever. Well, I'm the social creature that's caged up, like you said. I mean, but like, it's true, because I think a lot of the circumstances around the pandemic has limited social interactions. And for me, that is what it was part of my, the motivation to really get out of a corporate type thing, is because I want to go hang out and do things with people that I enjoy. And that's how I've grown my business. That's part of podcasting too. Collaborating even with you. I mean, we were even being safe for the whole time, but now, I mean, like we've been so freaking bubbled up and doing all this stuff, like there was a while where we didn't really interact as much, like at least in person. I feel like that's where I don't know, I've always really enjoyed that. And I think that was probably a big piece that was dropping the fun factor. It was almost like getting too locked into like, okay, well, if I can't do that, I guess this is my outlet now. And it's got to be through my work and doing all this stuff. But then it quickly realized, like, it turned into like, holy crap, I just like stirred up so much stuff where I'm like, I can't even handle this, and nor do I want to. Yeah. So how about for you though? I mean, like, I know your motivations, because like you were talking about that you share a lot of this, and I feel like you're bringing me back to the fun thing, whereas like you are very in your ways and systematic and all that. So you can forget about what's on the outside of your office sometimes, So talk about like, why do you start in business? I think you've told the story, but just quickly again, and then how you're thinking differently.
Yeah. I mean, my circumstances around leaving my job were slightly different in the sense that we had this family company, right? It was the Artisan, the shutter company that you and I both worked at for a while. The job that you're talking about, where everybody was walking around looking like zombies and it was a corporate gig, that was actually a job you had after you worked at the shutter company. So I just want to clarify that.
That was not with Matt. That's true.
Yeah, that was a different company. You had left the shutter company by that point. So, some of our timelines in the past, we might make it sound like we both worked at the shutter company, we both quit on the same day, and we started this business. That's not reality. Joe, like the shutter company, after Joe left, he went and worked for this corporate gig with the construction company. The company sold, and I basically worked at the same company, but under a new boss. So it was no longer the family business. I was working for somebody else.
Shutter company,
at the shutter company. Yeah. So when this new boss came in, this new owner came in, him and I butted heads a little bit. We didn't really get along up until that point. I had been kind of the one running things around the shutter company. I ran the factory. I handled all the finances. I did a lot of the hiring and firing. Like, for the most part, I was kind of CEOing the company, so to speak. And so this new guy came in and decided that he wanted to shift things around, change things up. He was a rule with an iron fist kind of guy, right? He was the type of guy that, like, if he saw you shooting somebody a text message while on the clock, he would probably cuss you out and threaten to dock your pay if he saw you do it again, right? If you had to go to the bathroom and you were in the bathroom for like more than 5 minutes, he'd be knocking on the door, telling you, get back to work, you asshole. Like, and he swore a lot too. So if you catch me swearing in reference to him, that's probably reality. Like, he was the type of guy that would call his own employees fucking assholes.
Crazy, man.
So him and I didn't get along for obvious reasons. A, he wanted to change the company. B, he was like a vulgar. In today's sort of like Me Too world where people are like calling out people who are assholes, this guy would be in prison, guaranteed. But he's dead now, so non-issue. Karma took care of it in other ways.
He's not terrorizing anybody else right now. Yeah.
He's not terrorizing anybody else now. He had a heart attack.
Well, shit. That's probably a lesson in itself right there.
Yeah. I'm not going to make light of his death, but he is not making anybody's lives miserable anymore. But anyway, so the sort of catalyst for me leaving that job was over a Subway sandwich. So when he came into the company, that one of the first things he did was fired my mom. Right. He was like, OK, we need to cut back on expenses. The overhead is too high. I need to get rid of people. So we went out into our factory, cut a bunch of key employees. First mistake, fucked up all of our processes and systems by getting rid of employees that ran the processes and systems.
And morale. It was a family business, and you just fired the mom.
Yeah, and then he also fired my mom because my mom was an owner and was taking a pretty hefty draw from the company, right? Sure. So he let her go. And so one day I was just kind of sitting at my desk, and my mom popped in and brought me and my dad lunch. My dad still worked there at the time under this new boss as well. And so she came in and brought me and my dad lunch, a Subway sandwich. And I said thanks and sat at my desk and started eating the sandwich. Lee walks into the office while my mom is still standing there next to me, talking to me, and starts cussing me out. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing? You're sitting here on my time in my office that I pay for, and you're eating a fucking sandwich when you should be getting your work done. Lunch hours are from this hour to this hour, and it's not to be done on the premises. You never eat on the premises. You go off premises for your lunch, you fucking piece of shit," and just cussing me out. Like literally my mom was standing in the room just like in shock, like, what the fuck is happening right now?
I didn't know your mom was right there. That's even crazier.
She was still standing in the room as he was yelling at me for eating a sandwich at my desk. And I was just kind of like, dude, I'm getting work done. I'm sitting here like eating while I'm working because I still have shit to get done today. So I'm trying to finish this while I'm eating. My mom happened to bring me a sandwich. I didn't know you wanted me to leave the premises to go eat the sandwich that somebody just brought me. That makes no sense, but I will next time. And I don't remember the exact interaction beyond that, but he started, cussing at me some more. And I just went, dude, I'm out. I quit. Fuck you. And I left.
That's like on the spot.
On the spot. Yeah, that was it. That was my last day at the company. Right there.
That's so cool.
He yelled at me over a Subway sandwich and I went, fuck you. And I left.
Jesus Christ. And didn't he, he gave you death threats and also other people at the company and all that. Just like,
oh, yeah, he made death threats. I actually went and applied for unemployment right after I left that job. And originally I was declined because I quit. And then I actually fought it. I appealed it. And so I actually went and stood in front of a judge. They said, you got to come plead your case if you're going to appeal it. So I went in, sat in front of a judge, explained to him some of the conversations I overheard, some of the things that he said to me. My dad actually started bringing in a little pocket recorder and recording conversations with this guy because he wanted, proof later on.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And so I actually got some of the recordings that my dad recorded of this guy talking to people, and I played that for the judge. And
wow.
And the judge, on the spot, was like, "Yeah, this is messed up," and they awarded me my unemployment. Wow. Yeah. So even a judge agreed with me there. But that was what caused me to leave, was just like a very, very toxic work environment with toxic people that was just driving me insane. Like I couldn't live like that anymore. I couldn't deal with people like that. So I had to pull myself out of that situation, and that's what I did. I basically just got the day he was yelling at me, I just bubbled up. I just got so filled with rage that I literally wanted to stand up and slug the guy, but I held back, and I was just so filled with rage that I just walked out the door, and I was just like, I'm gone, I'm out, I quit. So, and then he actually,
good on you, man.
He actually called me the next day and begged me to come back. He's like, "You're the only one in our company who knows how to do what you do." And I'm like, "Yeah, you fucked that up, didn't you?"
You're damn right, you did.
Because he wanted me. He's like, "You could quit. I'm not gonna force you to stay, but I want you to come over back and train one of our employees on what you used to do." And I went, "That's your fuck up. That's not my problem."
Yeah, it's too bad Loom didn't exist at the time. maybe I'll shoot you a Loom, but it's going to cost you a lot of money.
My Loom video would have been like, all right, I'll send you a video. Go watch it, okay?
Mm.
And then I would just flip off the camera for a minute straight.
Yeah, that was a big middle finger Matt just gave me. And you listening or watching.
So,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, those were the circumstances around me leaving. I was scared crapless. Of course, I say the F word every other word, and then I use the word crap when I was scared out of my mind when I quit because I didn't know how I was going to make our money. I was doing a little bit of freelance work, like building websites for I had a couple clients. And then you and I had some blogs running at that point, but the blogs were making what, $100 a month maybe,
if even. And I think might have been I mean, we didn't know what the hell we were doing there.
Yeah,
we were just experimenting. It wasn't any kind of money to barely even pay a car, let alone both of us split that money.
Yeah, but I think both of us kind of had this philosophy of like, all right, we tasted it, right? We had a little bit of success. We've seen some money come in. We know it's possible to make money online because we're making $100 here, and I've got some clients that are, making some money over here. So we knew that making money online was possible. So in my mind, I was like, all right, I've proven the concept. Now all I've got to do is put all of my time into this, and we can scale it. So I kind of went into it going, well, all I got to do is what I've been doing in the evenings for like an hour a night. If I was doing that for like 8 hours a day, maybe this could turn into a full-time income for me. So I went all in on the stuff that I was doing.
Yeah. I mean, so that was your motivation, is obviously freedom and not to be in a toxic environment. I mean, it's that was very extreme, but like good on you for freaking pulling the plug immediately, getting out of there. I mean, I would say I obviously didn't have that kind of experience, but I just saw that people could become maybe toxic internally, if you just kind of go with the motions of someone else's agenda or fit into someone else's mold, in a corporate type thing. Like that was never my thing. Like I had to tuck in my shirt. What the hell? Wear a polo, like, and a belt with like khaki type pants. I'm like, nah, man. Like, yeah, I guess that's like most people will be like, what? You didn't even have to wear a tie. It's like, fuck, there's an upside down noose. I didn't want to wear that shit either. But,
I quit my job on May 21st, 2009. I know the exact date because I got married 2 days later. It was literally 2 days before my wedding. I was like, in my head, I was kind of, after that, I was kind of like, this is cool. I get like a fresh start. We had recently just bought a house, which was fucking scary in the first place, right? Because I just quit my job after buying a house. But we had just bought in a house. I was getting married in 2 days, and I just left the job that I'd been in for like a decade. So like everything was a complete fresh start. So I went, all right, I'm gonna get married on Saturday. We're gonna go on our honeymoon for a week. I'm not gonna think about work, what I'm gonna do next. I literally don't have to think about anything work related. I didn't have a job and I didn't have a new business yet. I had nothing. So I went on my honeymoon with like a complete blank slate on my brain, not knowing what I was going to do coming back from the honeymoon.
I think you definitely were part of my catalyst to pull the plug and go for it. I know it was because I was seeing the possibility just like you were, and I remember, you obviously had a company with your parents and you basically were running that thing. So you saw what the inside of a successful company looks like. One that was generating really good revenue, had all these operations, systems, and yada, yada, yada. And I did get a glimpse of that because, like we were chatting about yesterday, we would have fun. We would have like chats in the morning, and on Fridays we'd have beers, and your dad would be there, who was the owner, or, your mom as well would sometimes join us. But like we had a great time, and that's what I saw what was possible to run a business is like, that's fun. That's cool. Yeah, we might be doing this manufacturing thing that looks boring, but it's like we can at least have fun doing whatever the mechanism is.
We figured out how to have fun all the time. Like we had barbecues in the afternoons. We had, beers on Fridays. We, threw office parties all the time, and like, we did all sorts. We all go to lunch together. Like we had a good time there until this new owner came in and went, you guys created company culture, fuck that, and then just erased all the company culture like literally within 24 hours.
And I think and that's like a huge lesson there because like that it got more corporate. I mean, so back to you being the catalyst for me, like I already had the idea of like not wanting, like this isn't my thing. This isn't my long-term thing. So I was going to school at the same time too. I remember this, like I was getting a marketing degree in San Diego school here at university, and I was like driving all around the county. I remember that, but Yeah, you quitting your job and going on that honeymoon, I was like, damn, that sounds freaking awesome. For one, like, you have no job, so you don't have to think about that. Also, like, I don't know, like, you were going to start something fresh and new and, like, have a clean, blank slate. And it was building off of something you and I already were doing a little bit on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it, I want to do that too. Because I ended up getting married in November and 28th, but it was, I think it was like right before that I graduated college as well. So right after I graduated college, I think is when I quit my job and before I got married. So it was like this weird and so similar to you, like it was all this stuff was happening. It was like, oh, right as I'm graduating college and I'm about to get married is when I quit my job.
Yeah, it's like all these major life changes all stacked.
Yeah, and people are like, wait, what? Hold on. You're supposed to keep your job or get a job when you complete college, not drop your job that actually was a pretty sweet gig.
Yeah.
But actually, that company ended up going under, so it was probably a good thing I bounced before that, but whatever.
Hey, that's similar to my story. After I left, well, the company went under after I left.
Yeah.
I guess it did for you too, right?
It
so,
did.
yeah, I think that just proves that we were the linchpins of those companies.
Obviously. But yeah, I mean, all of this to say is, I think the whole moral of the thing here is it's easy to lose track of some of the freedoms or the catalysts why you start something in the first place.
Yeah, if you reflect on why you did it, you can start to see like, all right, where did I get away from my original mission with all of this? Where did I get away from my original intention? And for us, that's what we've been reflecting on. And it's really like we were doing it for the time freedom. We were doing it because we didn't want a boss. We didn't want somebody who told us where to be, when to be there. Like I've told this before, but the beard that I have now, I grew as an act of defiance for that boss, right? So when this new owner came into the company, he went and had a new employee handbook made up, right? And the employee handbook had like a dress code, so he made everybody wear, you couldn't wear jeans, you had to wear slacks, you had to tuck in your shirt, you had to wear a belt, it had to be a button-up shirt with a collar. So he made like a dress code, and one of the rules as part of the dress code was you're not allowed to have facial hair. Right? No facial hair. And
I didn't know this.
As an act of defiance, when I read that, I grew my beard. I went, fuck this. I'm growing the beard. I'm gonna see how long I could grow it until he calls me on it. And he actually started calling me on it. Like a little ways into the job, he started going, you're not supposed to have that beard, right? I'm like, oh yeah, I'll shave it tomorw. And then the next day I'd come in, he's like, that beard's still there. And I was like, oh shit, I've totally forgot. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry. And I never shaved my beard. I've had it ever since. Like the beard came as an act of defiance.
I don't think I knew that either. Like, there's like little bits of this story that I've heard this story a ton of times, but yeah,
I've always had facial hair. When I was in high school, I had a goatee, and like when I played in bands and stuff, I always had a little bit of
stash
scruff.
for a little bit.
I did have a mustache once, the Fu Manchu. I had that for a little while.
It was like one time at a wedding. Yeah, and
I've done it a few times now, but yeah,
dare
like,
you.
The wedding is the one where we have a bunch of picture of it because it was at a wedding. But but yeah, I've pretty much always had facial hair, but the full beard came as that act of defiance when he passed out these new employee handbooks. I'm like, this is my first fuck you to this guy.
Totally, yeah. I mean, that's crazy times, but I guess let's bring it back to like what we're doing now,
Yeah,
with
probably
like
a good idea.
because we can go down this whole memory lane it's interesting. I love it. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's 12 years since that time for both of us. Mm-hmm. And we're looking at our business for the millionth time of this expansion, contraction. And, through contraction, it's like we find our biggest growth, it seems like every single time, both monetarily, like through the revenue that we're bringing, you would think like, oh, you'd probably lose money. Well, maybe for a little bit, but actually it just focuses all of our attention on the core things that are driving revenue, but also that allows us to, whatever freedoms we are going after. But also with the contraction, I feel like we're just so happier, like there's always this sense of clarity where we're like, oh yeah.
And we keep doing it too. It's a cycle, right? We keep doing it where we'll contract and we'll shave a whole bunch of projects off and take a whole things off of our plate. And then we start talking about how much happier we are, how much more free time we have, how much more fun stuff we're doing outside of the business. And then the next thing we know, like opportunities to make more money get put in front of us. And we're like, ooh, money. I was just watching The Hobbit last night, right? Where they were all, they were all obsessed over the gold inside the mountain, right? Like, we start to get that kind of thing where we're like, ooh, we have an opportunity to make a lot more money here. We should probably pursue this. And next thing you know, we're out of control again with just too many things on our plate, and we're stressed out. We're not happy. We're not having as much fun anymore. And I think that's a lesson that we've learned enough times now. Hopefully we'll find out, but I'm pretty sure we've learned it enough times now.
I think so. I think it's good to have a partner that checks you sometimes, and obviously another partner in a relationship. Our wives help us. I know mine has, and if I'm getting off the rails a little bit, like, she'll call me, and I know you hesitantly called me yesterday on that, but I was like, tell me. Like,
I'm not good at giving feedback to people. It's like,
but it is exactly what I needed to hear, and. It's just, if you're so like wrapped up in your own stuff, you sometimes lose track of who you even are, who and I think everyone can relate to that in some way, I hope.
Yeah. So
and it's just checking yourself and like realigning back to your motivations. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think, moving forward with this episode, I think what would be kind of cool is to talk about, here's some of the stuff we're doing now to like live that, This is almost like an accountability episode for us. We're putting this out into the world, and you listening can hold us accountable if you see us going against what we're saying, right? For sure. So like, a lot of people, when they start working out and doing fitness routines, they'll post on social media as like hey, everybody hold me accountable. If you see me eating that donut, give me shit about it. We're doing that, right? If you see us not having fun in our business anymore, call us on it.
Yeah,
right?
You guys are being too serious. This isn't you.
But let's talk about some of the stuff that we're leaning into, some of the cool stuff that we've got in the works to sort of live what we're saying.
We are going to, we're getting an office, and I think this is something, well, I know this is something we've been chatting about for a long time, and we've had offices in the past, but the big thing we want to do there is make it our own place, make it a unique place for us to have fun, but also create more for ourselves, for you, for whatever the hell is going to happen in that office. But also like I think it's just the concept of having this place of our own. There's a lot of other things, like this is going to allow you and I to collaborate more in person, and we just know that always works out way better than just hopping on a random call here and there, or having a little, let's just do an hour call or an hour check-in on, or I don't know. It just feels like the best of stuff comes out when we're hanging out in an environment that's our own, that's kind of just like, I don't know. It's just, we want a fantasy factory, and I think that's what it's going to become.
Yeah, I think we both have kind of separate motivations for the office, but we also have like some shared motivations for getting like an office space, right? Like, obviously, with your home situation, you've got kids and, your wife and
just one kid. Yeah.
You've got a kid and dogs and a wife, and
true.
You're looking to have like more of a distraction-free workspace, right? For me, I've been really going down like a lot of the YouTube creator rabbit holes and watching a lot of like vloggers and YouTubers that are doing fun, cool stuff. And like my big motivation for wanting to get a studio is like, I want, like what you just said, like our fantasy factory. I want our creator studio. I want our place where we can like have cool lighting and cool gadgets and make fun videos and have a good time, but then document the journey, document the fun we're having behind the scenes. Build this podcast studio. Right now, we record every podcast episode here in my house, like in my office. And there's reasons why we want to get out of my house for our podcasting. I have 2 kids here. They're not like randomly popping in, but they're noisy sometimes. You can hear them, right? We've got dogs here. Every once in a while, you can hear dogs barking in the background. My office isn't really set up as a studio, so Joe and I are just like sitting next to each other looking into my webcam as we're recording. So we don't have the best video quality. We don't have as good of audio quality as we'd like to have with our shows. We don't have the best like space for it. So I just kind of wanted to get our podcast studio into a dedicated studio where on podcast day, you and I show up, sit down, press record, and we're off to the races. As it stands right now on podcast days, an hour before you get here, I'm doing all this prep work. I'm getting microphones set up. I'm getting the mixing board set up. I'm getting the software set up. We're doing all this stuff. So it's not like you show up and we hit record, right? Yeah. But if we have a podcast studio, like everything's set up, it's dialed in. The cameras are all set. They're in the right places. The mixing board's there. The mics are set up. Everything's in the proper location. So we can just show up, sit down, press record, and roll. And that's what really excites me about it. And I think those are kind of the sort of separate motivations that sparked it. But then the shared motivations are, I think you have that sort of overlapping motivation of this like fun creator space. And we also have this overlapping motivation of when you and I are together, we actually accomplish a shit ton more. Like quarantine has been difficult because we don't see each other as much. You're at your house, I'm at my house. We do Zoom calls and phone calls a lot, but it's not the same. It's not the same as when we're in front of a whiteboard going, you know what we should try next, and mapping stuff out together, and then, you know, being in the dreamers room together, and then getting into the critics room and going, yeah, but this isn't going to work because of this, this, and this. And, you know, just the sort of collaboration that we do when we're in the same place gets us so much further than the collaboration we're doing when we're in separate places.
It's true. And I'm just thinking back, I just had a flashback to Artisan days, back sitting, you know, when we were first starting with our blogs, way back when. I remember going either to your office, which was like in this other room, because you had your own like private office, and I think you had a whiteboard there or something. And, you know, might be reading something, or maybe I read something, and then we'd go in there and we'd just talk about random ideas. We're like, oh, I just read this thing. Oh my God, you got to try this, or check it out. I think we might be able to do something here. Or like, oh, this is a great idea. We got to model this thing. And it was just like you just said, it was like, I feel like we just started that way. Like, let's just mastermind interesting things. And then we'd be like, all right, that's really cool. Break. You're going to do that. I'm going to do this. Let's test it. Let's come back and chat about it later. And then we'd go and do it. And I felt like it was just like, yeah, it always kept us we had a good time doing it. It wasn't always like, all right, motherfucker. No, like, no, it was like,
yeah, no, that was what we did
really
to entertain ourselves outside of the actual work we had to get done, right? Like, that was the fun part of the day, was us masterminding and brainstorming, like, business and opportunities to make money.
Yeah, and at the time, it was very money focused, for sure, you know, because we're just trying to prove this thing out. But it's interesting because we always had a good time. It was always very collaborative, everything we've done. And I know some people will be like, all right, the dependents are here. Like the two guys that are always, but like, I feel like because we do have this shared brain, that just interesting thing comes out when we actually put into action, and we do that consistently. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, getting this office space for me, the distraction free thing. I think it was like the initial thing. I was like, oh, this is going to be cool. Let's be honest. I think a lot of that comes down to me just simplifying my life and not doing as much. So that could probably be accomplished without getting an office. But at the same time, I like the simplicity of having a place where we could just walk in, hit a button, you know, sit down, not rearrange things, but have the confidence in knowing that like everything's ready for us in our place. And the quality of everything we produce is going to be so much higher because of all of these things, and the fact that we do have a different focus, similar focus, always create great content and keep on this vein, but like do it in a way where it's going to be way more entertaining and visual, and just something that we would want to really dive into deep too.
Well, I feel like the focus has shifted to fun. Like, let's just have a crap ton of fun and then document the journey of us having fun. And ideally that entertains people enough that they keep following along with us, right? That's where really we're going. And I feel like when we have our own place, we're going to just start getting way more creative with like, how do we just have fun? Like, what cool gadgets can we bring into this office to play with and make videos around and have fun with? What, you know, I like the idea of bringing in more guests and having guests in studio and doing interviews with us across the room from them. I love the idea of doing stuff like that and having our own little like Joe Rogan sessions and stuff like that. So I think that's really cool as well. And, you know, we have had offices in the past. This is actually our fourth or fifth office we've had for Evergreen Profits. But they've all had different things, different circumstances, right? Our previous office before this, the one that we've talked about that was above the brewery, well, we had other tenants there, right? Dan Ryan, who loves his shout outs on the show, and Jenny DeRose and Eric DeRose and
what up?
All these people, we shared this space with them, right? So it wasn't really like a creator studio where we can do whatever we want. It was kind of like they were our landlords and we rented a space from them, and
it was a good time.
It wasn't. Oh yeah, we loved it. We had a great time, but it wasn't really like our own space. It was we were in their space kind of feeling, right? Before that, we had an office space up in Murrieta, which is about an hour north of where we live in San Diego, and that one was more of a shared space as well. We had our own little office unit, but there was people in the office like directly next to us, and like we kind of had like a shared lobby, but in our office was one of the doors off the shared lobby, and other people had offices. Like it wasn't really a place where we felt like we could screw around and have a lot of fun and do whatever we wanted, because there was like people right there with a shared wall with us.
Well, you did just tell me yesterday that someone was screwing around in that place.
Oh yeah, I saw somebody filming a porn there. Yeah.
You just told me this yesterday, but the first time I was like, wait, what? That happened right down the hall from our office? Like,
I
what?
mean, I'm making some assumptions. It might be a little bit of a leap, but I saw two people that looked like they probably could be in that profession walking down the hall with a camera crew following them.
They were dressing the part and going to an office
with the camera crew following them. Yeah.
Yeah. You put those pieces together and so yeah, people were having fun. But we didn't have our own place though. Through all this stuff, like we had, it was all like baby steps, but it was always really cool because when we would get when we have focus, and at those times I felt like we were really searching for the perfect model. We were searching for what we love to do.
We didn't know what we wanted to be when we grew up yet.
It really is true. Like, but we knew we wanted to have fun, and we were doing that. You know, that was always part of it.
I would say we've had such a blast running our business throughout the entire history of our business. And I almost feel like the fun faded because of coronavirus, like us being locked into our houses and not seeing each other, not networking, not seeing as many people outside of our offices. I really feel like that's where the fun died a little bit, right? Because we were going to so many, like we had a blast going to Traffic and Conversion and Podfest and putting on our overtime events and, you know, speaking at War Room and like doing all this like cool stuff. Like you and I were like pinch ourselves constantly. Like if we looked at this 12 years ago, we would have never thought we would like get to the place we're in now. Right. And I feel like we always had a blast. And then just towards the beginning of 2020, when everybody was like starting to stay home and we had to start doing everything over Zoom. I mean, even our podcast, the first like 6 months of quarantine, we were recording everything here on Riverside with our guests. We weren't getting together to do podcasts. So like we weren't even, you know, like the sort of seeing other people factor of it, I think sort of killed the vibe a little bit for a while.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that was a big part, man. So, I mean, fact now that we have realized this, and I feel like we checked ourselves, and I guarantee you listening right now, you probably have felt something like this, especially if you're a social creature. Like I really am, you know, like I think it's probably affected people like us, you know, the social ones. But also just in general, I mean, like shit, we're all social creatures at the end of the day. So, even if you hate people, like when I was talking to Massimo, you know, founder of Ad Espresso. Yeah, he's just like, I hate people. Yeah. I know, Matt, you've kind of shared that idea sometimes with me. But at the end of the day, come on, you love people too. It's like the people that you want to hang with.
I almost feel like me saying that like I'm antisocial and introverted now is almost like it's part of the branding, but it's probably not actually part of the reality that much anymore. Yeah,
I would agree with that for sure. So, I mean, at the end of this day...
Yeah, so I was just going to say, like, with all of that being said, I think sort of what we're promising to do from here on out is to focus on having a crap ton of fun first and hoping that in the process of us having a lot of fun with the business, that people that are paying attention to us are entertained and getting informed by the fun content we put out. So some of the things that you could expect to start seeing from us is, you know, we've already started doing a lot more on YouTube. Like we've been saying for years, we're going to do more on YouTube, and it only took us like 2 years to finally actually start doing more on YouTube. But we're planning on doing a lot more like behind the scenes kind of videos, like showing you the new office and showing how we're setting up the new office and doing studio tours and finding fun games to play on our podcast and, you know, like making it entertaining for ourselves, and hopefully that fun translates to the listeners as well. Hopefully you have just as much fun listening to our shows and watching our videos as we have making them, because we're going to start putting the focus on having a crap ton of fun ourselves.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I want to spread the fun, spread happiness, interesting thoughts and ideas, behind the scenes stuff, things we're thinking about, people we're hanging out with. You know, going deeper on just in general on things that we talk about in the podcast. Structure it in a way that's just going to be a lot more maybe attract a wider audience even. I mean, like with the YouTube, and we're really thinking about the whole creator angle. So it's cool. And I don't know if we have the time for this one, but the creator rabbit hole is very interesting because we're seeing a whole different way to show up and market yourself and your brand and your products, all that stuff that most, I would say digital marketers, standard or traditional marketing, it seems different. Yeah. With the approach, and you'll see a lot more of that from us, just because it's fun and it's where the puck is going,
Yeah,
Matt.
Yeah, well, it is. That's one of the cliches that I say when we're not recording very often. I'll say it more often on recording though.
Yeah, you should.
But yeah, I mean, one of the sort of rabbit holes that we were going down yesterday, in regards to the whole like creator thing, is the idea of having like passions beyond the business, right? Like that was kind of a deep topic of like, I think one of the reasons we're not having as much fun right now is because our lives are pretty much the business and hanging out with the family, which we love hanging out with our families, but like that's kind of what life has become. Like work in the business, go watch movies or have do stuff with the family, work in the business, go do some stuff with the family, right? And it's kind of like this binary life that we've created where it's like everything is one of those two things. And for me, the realization I've had lately is that I've got this drive to create. I love doing music production, right? I love creating music, recording music. I love playing guitar. I love editing music. I love photography, and I love video production. I love all of these like creative pursuits, and I haven't really been doing any of them very much lately. And so I think this shift is kind of like a leaning into these creative pursuits that I think we have this drive to do, but we've sort of squashed that drive. We're kind of like, no, shut up. Making money's more important, but I think now our brains are started shifting to this place of like, no, these creative pursuits, these things that create happiness, these things that drive us in our business in the first place so that we can do things outside of our business. These need to be the focus. These need to be the pursuit, right? The pursuit needs to be the creative, fun things that we get excited about outside of work. And now work becomes the machine, the engine that provides the means to do the creative stuff outside of work.
Yeah. We had, it was Jenna Larson yesterday. Well, we recorded yesterday, but episode that's either out or will be out soon.
I don't think it's come out yet. It's
not
soon.
Yet. So little tease for you then is, she kept saying how she's a lazy person and that's what motivates her. But the fact that she has simple systems and processes to get stuff done quickly and to the best quality out there, better than most people would if they spent all day or all week doing that same thing. And, that kind of sentiment has been beat over our heads and my head tremendously, I think, over the last handful of months. Guys like Mark Acosta Rubio has so many calls. We've had him on the podcast with him, clubhouses with him, and it's all scheduling fun before work, and it's creating this space for fun, budgeting that in your calendar and doing that and making that a priority, taking time off in advance, paying in advance. And then the rest of the time, there is some work. It doesn't mean the rest of the time, actually. It's just like work will be there, but the whole goal is to not make that work expand across the board and have it consume every waking second, and that's kind of what can quickly happen unless you check yourself or budget the fun and the passions and all this other stuff. So
for sure.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. And so maybe let's keep a lookout because you're going to see a lot of new stuff from us. And hopefully this office thing will happen probably in the next few weeks.
Yeah, we're still waiting for the landlord to approve our application. Hopefully we're good.
We're sketchy characters.
We are pretty sketchy, I guess. But yeah, we're just waiting to hear back whether they approve us or not. We found a good location that'll make a badass studio, a badass creator space. So we're excited. And, when we get it, expect some videos. We'll give you a tour of the blank slate before we do anything with it, and then give you like updates along the way as we build out our sort of dream studio. That's kind of the idea there. So excited about that. Couple of quick like pod hacker updates.
What do we
got? We had Kurt Molly join us on our live expert session this month, and it was killer. He broke down how to use Facebook ads to grow your audience as a podcaster, which is something that a lot of people seem to struggle with as podcasters. So that module is now available for pod hackers.
Well, you know what was cool about this, and I just want to, because there was a perspective shift that I saw happen with the members, the people that were there with us live, because we're, it's a live session. We have Zoom, so there was a lot of chat going on, and Kurt was talking about kind of the layers of awareness. If you can kind of think of, you have the completely unaware, and then you have the most aware on top. So you have this whole spectrum, and there's like 5 or whatever steps and stages. And, he's relating this to how you can run ads to specific layers of people. And, there's a whole method to the madness. And just the way that he presents that just shows you, and everyone, and this is true outside of podcasting or creating, but the fact is you don't have to present your message to everyone. You don't need every download or every view or every person on your email list. You want the right people. And he had a very methodical way that he showed podcasters and other creators on this pod hacker training that you don't need the most downloads in the world, but if you just have the right people, you can grow the biggest business you ever want methodically and look like you have this massive brand, with advertising, but you're not having to blow a big budget to do so. And it's going to grow all sorts of stuff, not just your podcast, but your email list, your sales, so. Yeah, that was fun to see, kind of that mindset shift for people.
For sure.
That's very rare in podcasting.
Yeah. And then on the day this actually comes out, yesterday, we would have just done our office hours for this month. And tomorrow's my birthday, actually, based on the day this comes out. But
confusing me so much right now.
I know. This is coming out on April 29th. My birthday's April 30th. So this is coming out the day before my birthday, and the day after we just did our open office hours. Most likely what we talked about yesterday was using surveys in your marketing to figure out what to talk about. Probably recapping some of the stuff that Kurt went over and answering more questions around that. And just, generally working directly one-on-one with people on a live setting with helping them grow their podcast. So hopefully you're on that session. If you're not, make sure you're a Pod Hacker member so you get notified for our next expert session and our next open office hours. We're going to be having an SEO session. Our May session is going to be with an expert all about doing SEO to grow your podcast. So that should be a fun one that most podcasters are not doing. So
yeah. And just to toss it out there, because I know not every single person is interested in podcasting, and I might have mentioned this before, but at the end of the day, it's another form of content in a place that you should be showing up. So you're likely creating content somewhere consistently. You might just listen to podcasts, but you definitely should get a podcast, because there's a reason why there's a lot of podcasts growing. There's a lot of attention on podcasting. The tech's getting better. The marketing and discoverability is getting better. Don't think that you have to have this super unique angle and all that. It's just be you. And there's a lot of people that will just get hung up on, I don't, the podcast thing, there's not enough space for me there. It's and you don't even need to hang your hat and say you're a podcaster. I mean, you can have a podcast, but that could just be one of the ways that your content shows up to the world and attracts more people.
Yeah, and another thing I'll add to that as well is we get people constantly going, you guys do affiliate marketing so good. You do it different than anybody I've ever seen do it. You guys are next level with affiliate marketing. And I'm not tooting my own horn. Those are actual comments that other people have told us. And here's the thing. They always say you should make a course on it. Pod Hackers, that course. Everything stems from our podcast. So if you want to know how we do affiliate marketing and you want to learn all of our affiliate marketing strategies, it's Pod Hacker. It's all built off the back of our content. We just happen to be doing podcast content. But if you're a blogger or a YouTuber or making content in any other way, the methodologies are the same exact stuff. We just happen to leverage a podcast. So Pod Hacker is also our affiliate marketing course. So just throwing that out there. It's us opening the kimono on our entire freaking business.
Let's see. It's also our traffic generation course. That's how we get our traffic. That's how we grow our brand. That's how we grow our email list. That's how we send our physical newsletters and physical mail. It's how we're repurposing our content on all the different social channels. It's how we do our social media. It's it's everything we do in our business. So it's I don't know. I just feel like there's this objection of I'm not a podcaster. I don't see myself being I'm not that interested. Well, I think you should be because there's a reason why podcasting really allows you to kind of wrap all this stuff in your business, but in a systematic way. It doesn't mean you need to be doing a bunch of million things. And don't worry, the stresses that we're talking about and the ways that we got away from fun don't involve the podcast. The podcast is the fun part and the systemized way to have more fun and grow.
The 3 days a month that we actually have to do any work on the podcast. Yeah.
Oh God, it's so stressful. No,
yeah,
not
it's
at
pretty rough. You know what? We should wrap this up by telling a story.
Oh, we're doing stories. I was going to throw out some ridiculous ideas.
Oh yeah, ridiculous marketing ideas. All right. So conversion.ai is a tool we've been playing with. They don't sponsor us. We're not affiliates of it. We don't know the guys. We don't know anything about this tool other than we have a lot of fun playing with it. But basically what this tool is a tool where you can kind of give it some ideas and it will write marketing copy for you. Some of the copy is actually really good. Some of it's ridiculous. Some of it makes no sense whatsoever. And we've seen it kind of fall in all of those places. So we thought it would be kind of fun to every once in a while do like a little segment on the show where we read some automated copy and see what it spits out for us.
Let's do it. So right now we're looking at ridiculous marketing ideas. So this is a joke. It says, well, you know what? Sometimes it might give you a pretty good idea you can run with. All right. So what are we going to plug in here? So we have a few. I'm just going to voice this out. We have a company product name that we can put in. Product
let's put hustle and
description and tone of voice.
Hustle and flowchart for the product name.
Flowchart. And what's our product description here?
A podcast for entrepreneurs who want to have more fun in life.
That's good. More fun in life. All right. And
the tone of voice. Let's do silly or goofy or something like that.
I'm going to do funny.
Okay.
As a tone of voice, because I feel like that's given us some good stuff in the past.
All right. Start a GIF battle with our competitors on Twitter. Actually, not a bad idea. I don't feel like we have competitors because I feel like podcasting is very collaborative, but I like the idea, actually.
All right, here's another one, Matt. What do you got?
Send in an I Love Hustle and Flowchart Tumblr post to all of the traffic blogs on the internet. Okay, I don't know how to do that. I don't know what that means.
Host podcast calls from a shipping container and keep people waiting for a sign-up sheet to say what they want.
Okay, that one just is confusing.
Random.
I like the shipping container idea, though.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, like we're getting ideas for our future content. Like we recorded a podcast in a shipping container. Here's what happened, and then it's a YouTube video that looks like a Mr. Beast video.
Yeah. All right, I'm just gonna skip down over here. So we have deliver customers frozen packs of Chinese food through pizza boxes.
Okay,
that's gonna be different. Let's generate. This is not the best right now. Come on, let's get more ridiculous.
Some pretty ridiculous, dirty ones before. Those are what I'm looking for.
Publish 7 podcasts on the first week of a launch, so listeners think we're prolific. Wait, proliferative.
I think it means the same thing, but I've never actually heard that word before. Proliferative.
Well, it's not a bad strategy to start with that many podcasts in the first week.
Start a podcast with your significant other. Sing duets for Alexa to tell listeners about episodes. Not bad.
It's getting better. No, that's a little bit more, something you can actually do.
All right, let's do one more refresh and then let's move on because it's not giving us the gold like it has in the past.
Write a fake review of another podcast and say their creator absolutely lost his voice on day 2.
I like it.
Not bad. All right, Matt, what do you got?
The podcast always starts with the message, your ideas are bad and you can't do anything about it.
That's a winner so far.
That's a winner. I like that.
Have an episode where you bring in dogs as reviewers.
Okay.
That's not bad. Okay.
Create a tool that highlights sketchy sounding business ideas, then promote it.
I like it.
Isn't that what this is doing right now?
Yeah. Pick all the decorative stickers off our competitors' websites and stick them over so they can't advertise either. Huh?
I don't get that one.
I'm going to delete.
Donate blood and give users 1,024th of a biohack. Wait, what's that one? We're trying to be an off-the-wall podcast. What if during our interview we continually pretend like there was something in our teeth and kept interrupting them with yuck? Obviously, this would come right when a guest said something great or had the host wanting.
That's pretty good.
We're getting somewhere. Get a business owner to list the biggest regrets they had in their life at 6 a.m., then call them back when it's too late for anyone else to wake up that early, and let them talk about how much they regret not buying from your product by having a straight audio ad spliced into a long conversation between you and them. That is a hell of a sentence.
Wow. Buy and sell supplements that enhance income as an affiliate. Make millions in passive cash flow.
Okay, we've done that. We've sold CBD and crap.
Oh, Matt. You said
all
dirty.
right, here we go. Publish a video and submit it to porn sites for user-submitted videos. Everyone naturally clicks through once they see the thumbnail. I like it. That's the
maybe
winner.
Maybe that's a growth strategy for podcasts, is to just user-submitted podcast videos on porn sites, but put the thumbnail as something else that gets the click. It says, and watch your podcast grow. Oh, I never thought of that one before. Thank you, AI. You come through again for us.
All right, I think we can go ahead and wrap this one up. So
maybe Jacob cut down some of the bad ones for us there, so we could save people time.
So this segment was probably actually longer for us than what you actually heard, because it did generate a lot of like really kind of boring ideas. So you probably only heard the best of the best.
Yeah, it's for the better. But it's a cool tool. We'll bring it back some other time for shits and giggles.
Shits and giggles.
Good times, Matt. Let's go have fun. Let's go celebrate your birthday tomorrow. And actually, anyone listening, go find Matt on social media and blow him up in a not a bad way, but I don't know.
Yeah, I might actually see it like next week or something.
Yeah, that's right. So let them hear it.
My social media plan is I get on Facebook and I check into our Facebook groups for all of our customers and Hustle and Flowchart listeners and stuff, and then I get off. So I don't even like look at my profile or pages or anything. It's like very methodical. Check the groups. Cool. I've helped everybody I can in here. Get the hell off social media.
Well, go blow up Matt's inboxes. I think that'll probably get his attention. Get him out of his rut. Get him out of his routine. Matt needs to hear your birthday wishes.
You can all email me at joe at... No,
it's pretty easy to find. We already talked about it.
Yeah.
All right.
People pretty accurately guess our email addresses constantly.
It's all good. I'd like to hear from you. Matt really wants to hear from you, though. So go hit him up.
Grab the action guide for this episode over at flowchartgroup.com. Again, you'll be joining our Facebook group when you do that. When you join our Facebook group, we'll ask for your email. If you give us the email, we'll send you the action guide from this episode. The action guide will probably be pretty interesting from this one. So I'm excited to see what notes Sue pulls from this one.
Thank you, Sue. And thank you for listening and watching. Go check it out. Anything else?
Easy Webinar.
Easy Webinar. Yes, we do have a sponsor. And that sponsor is Easy Webinar.
It is. You're correct.
I wish I had. Yeah, but we've talked about this a lot. Last time we were recording yesterday, and I know this is out of order. We were talking about your kids using Easy Webinar, which was a surprise. And you're like, hey, what? Hold on, I know the creator of that thing.
Yeah. It's what the kids are into these days.
That's what the kids are into is Easy Webinar.
Where the puck is going. The puck is going.
But automated webinars. I mean, there's like so many different types of webinars you can do. So the fact is that your kids could have been recording a live webinar because there's full streaming capabilities, all that fun stuff. But you can also make that an automated evergreen style webinar that perpetually plays all sorts of stuff. So creating courses from there, onboarding customers, you can do all this like funky stuff with webinars. It doesn't have to always be the same old boring webinars you might have seen around. Make them fun, make them entertaining.
Yep. And, so if you're thinking about doing anything with webinar, definitely check out Easy Webinar. It's our favorite webinar platform. It's the one we use, and they're hooking up listeners of Hustle and Flowchart. If you go to easywebinar.com/hustle, he's going to hook you up with a fatty discount just because you're a listener. If you go to easywebinar.com, you can also get it, but you're not getting hooked up. So because you heard this, go to the /hustle page and get hooked up.
You will see Matt's face if you go to that other page, but you don't need to see his face again. You wanted that discount. So
you want the discount.
Easy Webinar.
It's more important than seeing my face. Yes. easywebinar.com/hustle. And if you're not a member of Podhacker yet, what the hell are you waiting for?
Come on.
Get in. Podhacker.com. It may be a waiting list right now, so that could be what you're waiting for. We do sort of open it and close it periodically. couldn't tell you right now as we're recording this whether it's open or not on the day this goes live. But if you go to podhacker.com, you can either sign up today or get on the wait list. Either way, you're going to get details about Podhacker.
And we will also send you cool tips and cool things to, while you're on that waiting list, all these cool little interesting nuggets to get you up to speed on what Podhacker is and some cool stuff you can do while you're waiting. So,
for real. Including free training about podcast growth hacks that you're just going to get before you sign up for Podhacker. So just by being on the waiting list, you're going to get some rad stuff from us around growing your podcast.
Boom. All right. Well, have a good one, Mr. Matt.
You too, Mr. Fier. Did I say that right? Mr. Fier?
Yes, you did. That's perfect. Cool. It's fancy sounding. I'll take it.
All right.
I love it. All right. Till next time.
Joe Evolved and eFlow out.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Hustle and Flowchart podcast. Before taking the time to listen, we want to give you something a little bit special. Every single episode that we do, we actually have somebody on our team take notes. We basically have a Cliff's Notes version of every episode where you can go and find all of the tips and tactics that they laid out, all of the resources that they laid out, all the good stuff from this episode. We actually have a nice, simple notes version that you can find on our website. So go to evergreenprofits.com, find this episode that you just listened to, and give us your email address, and we'll send you the notes. Thanks for listening.